Cam Johnson is the newest member of the Denver Nuggets starting five. So what will he bring Denver in this 2025 campaign, and how could it potentially change the way that David Adelman and, most importantly, Nikola Jokic run the offense and space the floor on a possession-to-possession basis? Plus, is there anything that can be done to potentially bring change over at 20th and Blake with the Colorado Rockies? And if so, what is it? Well, we heard from a high-ranking member within the organization who spoke with 9 News in an exclusive interview that I wanted to highlight a couple of things from today. All things to come on today's 4th of July rundown. Happy Independence Day to you all. The holiday weekend is here. Hope everybody is ready to have a jam-packed, kick-ass, awesome holiday summer weekend. 4th of July is honestly my second favorite holiday behind Christmas, and I just love that the weather is usually nice. You get to grill a little bit. Maybe you got a boat. Maybe you're on a lake. Maybe you go to a beach. You hang out with friends. You hang out with family. There's no rules. There's no stigmas. There's no expectations. It's just the best. I cannot wait to get off the air here, to finish out my day, and to get my weekend started. But in the meantime, we will park it in the world of the NBA, where I want to know, and I have some thoughts on what the new one, I shouldn't say the newest, because that would be like, Tim Hardaway Jr., Jonas Valanciunas, Bruce Brown, all guys who came after the first Nuggets acquisition of the 2025 NBA offseason, and that is Cameron Johnson from the Brooklyn Nets. He comes in a trade that sent Michael Porter Jr. and a 2032 first-round pick out to the East Coast and will slot presumably right into MPJ's former space in the starting lineup. And I think there's somewhat of a misconception. I touched on it a little bit yesterday, and I want to dive a little bit deeper into it today. I think there's somewhat of a misconception about Cam Johnson and what he could potentially bring to this Denver Nuggets starting five, because I think too many people might just gloss over or get lost in a box score comparison between the two. If you look at their box score comparison, you can maybe understand why. When you look at their points per game, virtually identical. 18.2 for MPJ, 18.8 for Cam Johnson. 3-pointers per game, less than a half of a point difference. 2.5 for MPJ, 2.8 for Cam Johnson. Half a percentage point difference in 3-point field goal percentage at just over 39%. MPJ with an edge in the rebounding department, and Cam Johnson with an edge in the assist department. And from a shooting perspective, stylistically, I do think they also look pretty similar when you put their shot charts next to each other. Michael Porter Jr. there on the left of your screen, Cam Johnson on the right. When you're looking at it that way, it's easy to take that and take the box score and say, hey, the Nuggets just swapped out Michael Porter Jr. for $17 million cheaper and maybe slightly less of a threat on the boards and on the glass, Michael Porter Jr. There, it's the Spider-Man meme of them kind of pointing at each other. And I can see how you would draw that conclusion, but I think that's too dismissive and a little bit overlooking of an aspect of Cam Johnson's game in his basketball portfolio, for lack of a better word, that I think is stronger than Michael Porter Jr.'s. And that is one, and I think this is the stem that everything else branches from. I think Cam Johnson's a smarter basketball player than Michael Porter Jr. I think he has a stronger and a more formidable basketball IQ. And I think that he uses that basketball IQ that is superior to perhaps a Michael Porter Jr. to expand his game situationally and adaptively within the flow of a game. Can he be a spot-up and pop-up shooter? Yes, that was what Michael Porter Jr. was hell-bent on being at the NBA level and with the Denver Nuggets, and he showed periodic success at doing that. Let's not forget Michael Porter Jr. was a key member of a title team, the only title team in the history of the Denver Nuggets, and somebody that battled through a lot of adversity to get there. But I think that, again, if you want to go back to the box score, the decrease in rebounding ability from a guy like Cam Johnson compared to what Michael Porter Jr. was pulling in about 7 boards a game, with the increase in assists, I think is just not even an equal swap for me. I actually think I value having Cam Johnson have a higher uptick in the assist category, because what that signals to me is this. Cam Johnson, who I believe has a smarter basketball IQ, a higher basketball IQ than Michael Porter Jr., and the way that he uses that IQ to read, react, and adapt within the flow of a game, and something that could change possession to possession, quarter to quarter, game to game, series to series. He does more and is better with the basketball in his hands, in my opinion. The ball, when it would come to Michael Porter Jr. more often than not, was late in the shot clock, and or if it wasn't, it was kind of a dead stop. The offense came more to a halt with MPJ than it did with other players on the floor. And with Jokic's skill set, his primary skill set being his or his adept ability to pass the basketball and make these insane, no-look, cross-court, high-angle, tough precision passes from basically anywhere on the court, having a hard stop and a dead stop only works if you're converting at a higher rate than Michael Porter Jr. and several other Denver Nuggets were. So the fact that the offense can help flow through a guy like Cam Johnson and not be so abrupt and choppy and rely on, corner threes and pop-up spots from beyond the arc is an encouraging sign to me, because there was something with that Nuggets title team that felt so connective and fluid. The ball, similar to how you saw with the Golden State Warriors, even prior to KD's arrival, the Showtime Lakers, the ball just floated around the court, and it would zip here and it would zip there, and there was movement. And as a defense, you were kind of just pinballing your head around trying to catch up until ultimately you couldn't, and somebody's left open for a high percentage shot. And I think that Cam Johnson and the likes of Tim Hardaway and Bruce Brown and the latter give the Nuggets a better chance to get back to that. And I think that that's important. When you're just looking at the box score perspective for Michael Porter Jr. and for Cam Johnson, their points per game are similar. Their 3-point per game and 3-point shooting percentage are similar. Their shot chart is virtually identical on a heat map. And I understand all of that, but I don't want those similarities to wash away or distract from the fact that I think Cam Johnson brings a better basketball IQ and a deeper bag skill set wise, and greater ability with the ball in his hands to create his own shot, to move the offense and help Jokic push the ball through him than Michael Porter Jr. did. And I think that is going to manifest itself night in and night out in a way that we have not been accustomed to seeing with what we were getting from Michael Porter Jr. Speaking of things we're accustomed to seeing, the Rockies, as they continue their march toward becoming potentially the worst team in the history of Major League Baseball, one of their newest promotions in the front office, the eldest son of owner and chief principal decision maker Dick Montford, Walker Montford, sat down with 9 News in an exclusive interview to talk about his new potential role within the team, taking over as, vice president of operations, of baseball operations, and further cementing himself within Dick Montford's front office regime and structure, which will take place in a full capacity in the 2026 season, as the rest of this season is a transitionary period. Walker Montford sits down with Scotty Gange of 9 News, Scotty G6, as he is affectionately known on social media. And he said some things that, I think you like to hear, but also feel very familiar and eye-rolly at the same time. When he was asked about the problems that the Rockies are facing, he said this, quote, "We're frustrated as well. This is a sport that is a challenge year after year, but we know we can be better. I'm a Rockies fan at heart. I think there's no reason to do this if you're not going to try to win. We know that, and the goal is to get there." Thanks a lot, Walker. Appreciate that one. The goal is to win, and our goal is to figure out how to get there. Well, fantastic. You have the literal baseline minimum bare expectation of any professional sports franchise in the floating rock that we call planet Earth. And while I appreciate that, I think it's a little bit maybe dismissive of the roadblocks that are self-imposed and in the way by yourself and your father as extensions of each other that have prevented the Rockies from potentially getting there. On the subject of solving the problems, Walker Montford had this to say. He said, quote, "We have to look in the mirror. We have to look in the mirror and understand how we got here. What are the opportunities for us to change and actually look at things differently and implement that change?" Okay. Again, you're speaking my language a little bit more there. Looking in the mirror. Again, no bleep, Sherlock, okay? There's nowhere else to look but in a mirror because you are the problem. You have one of the best ballparks in Major League Baseball. You've got a fan base and a state where a lot of opposing fan bases live that continue to support your product, even though it's terrible and borderline un-American at times on the 4th of July, I might add. And so there's nowhere else to point the finger except that way. This way, I guess, if I'm Walker Montford. Pull the thumb, Walker. Don't point the finger. So, again, you're saying things that are obvious. This is like when you give yourself easy questions to answer so that you sound smart. I get it. But the root of what Walker Montford told Scotty Gange there is the truth. It is the truth. You have to look in the mirror. You have to look at things with a fresh set of eyes and bring in differing and fresh perspectives to be able to look at this thing at a different angle. And then you, Walker, in your new executive role, and your father have to allow somebody else to start making some baseball decisions to help turn this thing around. Because thus far, you and your father have not proven to be able to do it at a level that is even remotely acceptable as a Major League Baseball franchise. So my plea, just like it was when Patrick Saunders sat down with Charlie Montford, my plea to Walker Montford, the eldest son of Colorado's favorite owner, Dick Montford, is this. Please, Walker, Texas Ranger, you are in a position to potentially impact change as not just a new executive president, vice president role in the baseball operations department with the Rockies. You are a potential future owner and inheritor of this baseball team. Only you can prevent wildfires, and only you can prevent the Colorado Rockies from continuing down the path that they are currently on, which is going to be inventing new lows and deeper depths that a baseball team can continue to reach. So you, Charlie, whatever other executive team that you need to pull together, find a way to break the stigma and the cycle and the insular nature with which this organization has found themselves just enamored with and in love with and comfortable being in, and figure out a better way. Figure out a way with someone from the outside with a fresh set of eyes and a fresh perspective to help turn this team around and back into a winner that it once was almost 20 years ago now, but still not long enough for us to have forgotten about it, because we haven't. Rocktober was real and it happened. And if you do that and you're able to bring the team back to what it once was, even for that glimmer of a hope season in 2007 or their postseason runs in 2018, this city, this town, this state, and this fan base will reward you for it tenfold. Please, on America's birthday, Walker Montford and the Colorado Rockies, give us reason to hope that things could be different than what we are watching this season. That is my ask on the final show of this holiday week. Happy 4th of July to you all. Enjoy your your Independence Day weekend, and we will catch you again bright-eyed and bushy-tailed on Monday.
I do what I love what I do. It's second nature to put in the work.